welcome to the East Lyme Board of Finance regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 11th at 7 p.m. and I would like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the agenda is delegations, the opportunity for the public to address anything that's on our agenda this evening. Seeing no one here, I can move on. So we have had a whole lot of meetings in April, and we have a lot of minutes to approve, so we do need to take them one at a time. So do I have a motion to...
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the special approval of the special meeting minutes of April 4th, 2022.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any comments, corrections? All those in favor of approving the special minutes of April 4th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? No. Motion carries 4-0-0.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting, April 11th, 2022.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any comments, corrections? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes of the special meeting of April 11th? Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. No abstentions?
Can we keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting, April 13th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Any corrections? No. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the regular meeting from April 13th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. No abstentions. Motion carries 4-0-0.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the public hearing, April 25th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, corrections? No? All those in favor of approving the minutes of the public hearing from April 25th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. The motion carries 4-0-0.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting, April 25th, 2022.
I'll second.
Any discussion, corrections? No. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the special meeting from April 25th, 2022, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. The motion carries. Minutes from special meeting April 25th are approved. So next on the agenda are reports. We did hear from Jeff Newton that he would not be attending this evening, but he will be at our June meeting. So then that brings us to any report from Mr. Siri.
Good evening. Just a couple things that'll be coming up at our next Board of Selectmen meeting, and then it doesn't need to come back to your board because these are things we're purchasing with our money. But Dave Putnam is making a presentation to help alleviate the need for bathrooms in the hole-in-the-wall McCook's area, and they're compost bathrooms. They're basically, you'd have no idea it is not hooked up to plumbing or anything like that. They're about $75,000 a piece, but they're total composting. They're year-round, so we wouldn't have to shut them down and bring in the porta potties in the winter. So he's making a presentation to the Board of Selectmen on that at the next meeting. One of the other things, too, is sidewalks, which is what we have a distinct need for in areas of the town. Through the state, federal money coming from the state to the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments. We've identified, they've asked to identify areas where we could either do some road and sidewalk repair or extension, and the minimum that you could request would be $300,000, the most about $1 million. So Alex Close, the town engineer, spent a lot of time going, what could we feasibly do? And, we just always talk about extending them down 161. Well, the state's looking at that. There's no way we could get that type of thing done. But you have to have the submission, the preliminary grant request to Southeast Connecticut governments by the 22nd of this month. And if it's approved at that level, then you have to do the full grant request, and that'll be reviewed in August, and the award would be in the September timeframe. But the road we've identified, or after going through all the areas, would be East Patagonic Road. We've sent a letter to the people on that road that we're looking at doing that, and basically the west side of the road, which is the side where Bush Hill is, and so forth like that, that's where we would hope to do sidewalk improvement and look at extending them all the way from Route 161 to Route 156, and possibly do some road repair. So we're hoping to get that. We will have that preliminary grant request done, and we hope if we can keep moving on with that. So some looking at, and Alex Close is, the new town engineer, is the one that identified this and brought it to our attention. So great job by him.
So,
yes.
Just a quick question. So do we need to get the residents who haven't had a sidewalk before that would
No,
now?
okay,
Are there any of those?
we have a bit of a right of way, so they're looking at all that now. But it looks like we'll be all right doing something like that.
Can I ask another sidewalk question before you move on?
Yes, sir.
Once upon a time, if my memory serves me correct, we approved a study for a sidewalk down 161 near where it's really narrow and there's a retaining wall in the pond, Gorton Pond.
Yeah, the state has a 161 corridor plan review going in effect now. One of the things, because that's a state road, they're looking at is when they do it, and this would be after the project that would be up the 73, exit 74 area, would be to,
okay.
It would be post that to look at repairing the sidewalks, extending them, possibly looking at straightening out the curve that you come into as you're coming, if you're heading south on 161 coming into Roxbury Road with the rock, you know the rock I'm talking about. So they're looking at all that. So that's a much bigger project, but that's something that the state
we
is.
approved a study, I think. Is that study happened, or?
I believe the study has been done, but now the state is taking that one in, because we've identified other areas. West Main Street, trouble with why West Main Street wasn't on this list, right, or wasn't the area we looked at, because we could do it on a state road too if it's something we could do within the constraints of what they're asking, which 161 wouldn't do.
Right.
We're all right, but then you get that little bridge on West Main that would take a whole lot more work, and there's no way we could get the work, the engineering work done on that prior to the submission of this. We are looking at on Route 1 between Walgreens and up to where the Dollar General is. We are planning on doing sidewalks there in the fall. We have the resources for that, and that'll make it so if the students are coming out of school now, they can cross the road there, and right from there, there's a sidewalk for them all the way from that area down. And for the people in that apartment complex, if they need to go up to Dollar General, now there'll be a sidewalk instead of walking up the shoulder of the road. So that's something that won't take too much to do. We have the resources to do that. That's separate from the other one, though. So we're looking at moving forward with that, too.
Good.
Yes, coming up on the 29th, on Memorial Day weekend at 7:30 p.m. on the 29th is the Candlelight Vigil at the Green, honoring those that made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of their country. And then the Memorial Day Parade is on the 30th of the following day, on Monday at 2 p.m. And it'll start up at Columbus and 161 and come up to the Town Hall here. Also, on that Memorial Day weekend, on the 28th, Main Street Organization is hosting the Vintage Market again, where they'll have a lot of vendors coming in on Methodist Street. The stores are open, and there'll be a whole map of so forth like that, of where things are and so forth like that. And I'm meeting with the Main Street Organization again on Friday to talk about that some further. Miracle League has kicked off their season. If a Sunday morning you want to really feel good, go up and watch these young athletes play up at the Miracle League field with their families, and our high school baseball team shows up to help out. It's something that makes you feel very good. Our fire marshal resigned. His last day was yesterday. I've appointed an interim fire marshal because it came in between meetings and so forth. The individual is a retired state fire marshal, so he's got vast experience in the area. So he started today. Actually, he started yesterday. He was in here, just came in to say hello to me, and I handed him the keys to his office and that, and the chief called and said, "We have a fire up in the highway." So I said, "Yep." So he went right to work, to say the least. So anyway, the tax sale, I'll let Chris Dixon talk about that. We raised about a significant amount of money over the tax sale that was conducted back on April 21st. I'll let her address that if she'd like when she speaks. What we're going to do, too, is in our first June meeting, our town attorney is going to make a presentation on how to form a charter revision committee, basically statutorily what has to be done, and some experience from what we've done in the last couple of ones as well. There's a timeline, because the plan is, we've talked about this at the Board of Selectmen level, is in our August meeting is when we'll appoint and give a charge to the Charter Revision Committee. We can give them direction as far as what we consider important to be reviewed, but that by no means is all-encompassing, and they aren't required to follow that. They are required to have public hearings, to take input from the public, and it goes, it's a long, involved process, and eventually they'll come back. It's usually no more than a 16-month period, which is why we're doing it in August, because that would bring 16 months right to November of next year, and I'll explain why that's important in just a second. But with all the input, the Charter Revision Committee will submit a plan to the Board of Selectmen for review and approval or disapproval, and to forward to a referendum if it was approved. The Board of Selectmen can't say, okay, we don't like these three things you've done in your recommendation for a charter revision. We either accept the plan as they've presented it, or we reject it. So we can't basically, well, the things we didn't like are out of there, or add things back in, because that defeats the whole purpose of having that committee. And one of the things the town attorney said is when you go to referendum on this, 15% of the electorate has to vote. If not, if it's less than that, it doesn't count. So I wouldn't want to tie it into a budget referendum, because if we get a small turnout, which we usually do, and I don't want to guarantee that, because of the referendum it will be higher. So I think the best time to have that would be at the general election next year. So that's, like I said, they're just coming to talk, and then we'll have a couple months to do it, and decide the size of the committee. The committee can be between 5 and 15. The last two East Lyme have done has had 11. And your minority representation, you're restricted in how many members of elected boards or commissions can be on it. It's recommended no one from the Board of Selectmen be on it, because they're the ones that charge it and will vote to say yes or no to that. So there was, but anyway, the town attorney is going to make that presentation. Last thing is we had the annual town meeting the other night, presented the budget, and that adjourned to the referendum, which is a week from tomorrow, the 19th, from 8 to 8 at the community center. So everyone remember to please get out and vote. And any questions?
Got Touch a Truck.
Touch a Truck is May,
A week from Saturday.
a week from Saturday at
not bad.
McCook's Park, and the first hour is the quiet hour. So they don't, thank you for bringing that too, because I was just talking with someone about that today. It's the first time we've had it in a few years, so it's a very nice event at McCook's Park. They have fire trucks, police cars. The National Guard has vehicles there. Coast Guard usually has something there. It's a lot of some vintage vehicles and stuff. It's a lot of fun. And that first hour, you don't have to listen to sirens blowing the whole hour, because they keep it quiet. So thank you, Paul, for bringing that. I almost forgot that.
And they have parking up at the school, right?
But a lot of people will parking. It can be a problem. It's usually over. I know some people will try and park at St. Agnes. That's usually not a problem, because it's over before Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening mass. Some people park across the street at the in the town property behind the VFW. A lot of people park at Hole in the Wall, or someplace on Main Street, and just walk up from Hole in the Wall. So parking will be at a premium on that day if the weather is nice.
They had a shuttle going.
From Niantic Center? Yeah, and Annex Center, Tell-Aid, and that, thank you. They're going to have the shuttle moving in too, so that will help out a lot too. So, any questions? So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Anna Johnson, Director of Finance.
Good evening. So I thought I would talk about unassigned fund balance first, since that was part of the budget decision with regards to the amount that we would apply in next year's budget. And after speaking with Ms. Hall, I added 4 decimal places because it was rounding up to 15%. So to more accurately reflect, it's actually 14.8. However, so I put this report together for you last Thursday, and so as you know, until we get to the end of the fiscal year, it's ever changing. So a couple of things with regards to taxes that are collected to date and the estimates that I did to the end of the year. I'll point out that I estimated an additional $670,000, and when I checked in our system today, we've already recorded $542,000. So between today and June 30th, to meet that projection would be another $128,000. So part of the reason why we have such a large collection amount to date is because the final check that we received as a result of the tax sale didn't come in until after May 1st. So we recorded it in our system on the date received, which is May 4th. And that check was for, over $462,000. And then when Ms. Dixon gets up to speak, she can mention the one property that had declared bankruptcy right before the tax sale on April 21st. The court didn't accept that bankruptcy, so we're going to have another tax sale here at the Town Hall at the end of the month to see if someone's interested in that property. And there's about $69,000 owed on that property. So that if that tax sale is successful, then that's an additional boost in that area. So I also went through and looked at the other areas where, the projected amounts that I have. And so, I believe we will meet that projected amount at the end of the year. And I think, again, because of the success that we've had with the taxes, that perhaps we would even make it to get to the point of the additional 157 to bring it to that even 15%. So I think I just kind of wanted to make those comments for you. Does anyone have any questions on this particular report?
No, that was pretty thorough. Anybody? I did give you an updated budget summary when I was looking at it again today. When I saw that in 2022 and 2021, the expenditures were exactly the same for general government, I thought something was wrong, so I went and I reviewed it and I made the change there. We did get the remaining portion of the ECS grant in the month of April. I don't know if anyone has any questions on the summary highlight. I have the feeling we've all been looking at these numbers so much over the past month. I think we've asked every question that.
So then, with regards to the expenditure side of the budget, in looking through it, I think, generally speaking, I looked at all the public safety overtime and part-time accounts, and it looks like right now we're tracking where the funding that is in those accounts will get us through the end of the year. The one area that this year the expenses have kind of run away from us are our legal expenses, which are highlighted in Department 114. On the flip side of that, we had some resources within that department in the pension line item because when we did the budget last year, it was prior to all of the work that the pension committee, now pension board, did, and so as a result, it reduced the amount that we were required to make for our annual required contribution, and there's been a resource there where we've been able to transfer the funds needed into the legal accounts. Looking at the balance that's left, there's about 22,000. And looking back at prior years, we typically spend around 70,000 in the last few months. So there's the potential that we would need, possibly to transfer an additional 50,000 from the pension account. And then on top of it, we're starting to do some negotiations with our UPSU union. So the legal fees, the attorney that we retain to assist us with that. So we're going to have some, in the next couple of months, I expect that to kind of peak up a bit. And then during this fiscal year, we had a couple of land use suits. That's kind of one of the driving factors of the larger than expected legal fees have been. And then I just wanted to mention to the board, as you know, we have a deficit in the health insurance fund from when we were previously self-insured. And I'm expecting that we're going to have, 115, 120,000 remaining in that budget account this year. So I've discussed it with Mr. Siri that we just transfer those funds in, to assist in reducing the deficit in that fund, because we'll be using the funds for their intended purpose, which is health insurance. So this way, at least we're using some budget resources to, to eliminate some of that deficit. So. And then, at the end of this month, we can see where we are again relative to what we believe the unassigned fund balance will be at the end of the year, and possibly allocate some of that resource as well. So this way, we get rid of that once
What's
and
the
for all.
total deficit?
I believe it's about pardon?
926.
About 900 and some thousand, yes. So, okay, that's all I have for this evening.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Anna?
The auditor is going to have a draft for us anytime soon.
I would expect in the next few weeks.
So, this brings us to new business, and we have about 8 different items. I think we must have had a lot of things kind of building up while we were off doing budget, but...
Not really, this is just stuff that, has come up recently.
All right.
You have a couple of items on the second page, too.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. All right. So first, under new business, we have a tax collection suspense list that we're looking to approve. So I don't know, Chris, whether you wanted to
Tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Tell us the story.
I'm Christine Dixon, the new tax collector for the past few months. I'm presenting a suspense list of roughly $267,165. And we also are incorporating, because of this suspense list, we have an agency taxer that's going to help us with some of these older tax bills that are outstanding. It will really be a great help it won't cost us postage. It won't cost us much manpower, so we'll be able to collect on some of the more current grand list years that are out there. So we contracted with TaxServe to collect from 2010 to 2017. The suspense list may look a little large at first, and I think it's just because of two different styles that are kind of conflicting here. As I said, these are taking from the 2010 grand list to the 2017 grand list. So even though they're on the suspense list, they're still collectible. TaxServe will be out there collecting that. They send us checks weekly on what they've collected. We get reports. So the suspense list keeps going, and we keep bringing money in each week for that. So,
What do we net from the, from TaxServe?
excuse me?
What do we net from their collection?
Per week, maybe 1,500 to
What's their fee on the,
no fee.
no, it's no fee?
No fee. They tack their fee onto the
The,
delinquent taxes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So they have more resources to collect these tax
Right,
bills. You know,
That's all they do.
postage. It's wonderful. So it's
Okay, that's
we
good.
can see a big
Yeah.
help.
I
So
thought that, yeah, I always assumed that there would be a haircut for the town, but it's good that the,
right.
Tax.
And there's a 15-year period where some of these suspended tax bills are going to be uncollectible soon anyway. So the more we can kind of put on there and start getting help collecting those, the better.
Go ahead.
How do you track who's deceased on the list?
We get notices from the town clerk's office. They have a deceased list that comes.
'Cause I went through the list and I noticed a couple, but one in particular that the person passed away several years ago.
Okay.
I mean, The
Yeah.
amount of money wasn't that great, but still.
Right. Yeah, there's, I'm sure there's many that are missed. You know, between coming down the hall, between the tax office, the assessor's office, it kind of flows down to our office. Yeah. We do the best we can to try to
Is there any
track these.
projection on how much of this $268,000 will be collected?
That I don't know.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say, especially since this is new and, you know, it hasn't been used in the town of East Lyme like it is now. It's implemented now.
Okay.
Can you tell me the process you went through to choose this firm, TaxServe?
TaxServe. The previous collector had a contract last June. He started. We kind of met with them when I came on board to see what else we could do with them. They are in the state of Connecticut. They're from the state of Connecticut. And no, we didn't really, just was kind of continuing what had been started.
So I'm just wondering what kind of controls we have over transparency in seeing, you know, what they collect and then what gets passed on to us. I don't want to say anything about this company, but I know
We
from
do
years
get
in municipal finance, there's a lot of fraud in this area too. So
Okay, we get monthly reports, we get weekly rundowns of what has come in for that week. We have monthly reports. I was speaking with someone from TaxServe today that makes these reports. She says, however you want these reports written, we can tweak it however you need it with the town. Just let us know. They are, I think, highly reputable. They come to the Connecticut Tax Assessors Association annual conference there. They have lots of vendors at these conferences. TaxServe is one of them. They're used throughout the state by many municipalities. So I feel pretty confident.
okay.
But we can certainly, you know, tweak something if need be for these reports, or if something comes to light, please let me know and we can keep an eye out for
One
something.
more question. To carry on from what Denise said, do they work on a percentage or a fee, state fee?
Not through the town. It's through the delinquent taxes that are collected. They put a fee on that. So there's a 15% fee.
Okay,
Yeah, but it doesn't come from us.
okay,
Not collected from us, I should say.
right.
And I think in our information that we got tonight in our folders here, there was an update from what we had in our original packet with
It was a little
Yeah, the
less.
numbers are a little
Yes.
bit different.
Yeah.
So at the point that the tax department created the suspense list that was sent out to you in your packets, we received some additional payments. I believe they were from TaxServe. So the tax department updated the list for this evening's meeting. So until the Board of Finance approves the suspense list, we can continue. If people are going to pay their taxes, we want to receive them, and so that there's a little, that little bit of time lag, and then once the board approves it, then the tax department goes and records, like, okay, this is the frozen in time suspense list as approved by the Board of Finance. So that's kind of why there was that little bit of difference.
All right, does anyone have any other questions for Christine? If not, do you want to make a motion? I think
Yeah,
John, yes.
Okay. Motion to approve tax collection suspense list in the amount of $268,108.
$267.
So
The
we're going to
new
use 267?
Yeah.
Okay. In the amount of
Right there.
$267,165.06, spanning the years of 2010 to 2018.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nice job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Keep our fingers crossed.
All right, all those in favor of approving this list? Aye. Any opposed? No. Any abstentions? The motion carries 400. And it looks like this is looking for my signature on it as well. So I will get that out of the way.
We'll keep the pen as a souvenir.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Good luck. Next, we have a special appropriation of $25,000 CNRE Police Computer JAG. Did you want to address this, or?
Yes,
Mr.
thank
Siri?
you. This is, the police department's been given a pass-through funding grant from, JAG grant from the federal government. It comes through OPM, and it's based on crime statistics, and as it's explained there. And it's a very small number of uses that it can be, can be used for some specific things. So this year, the chief is looking to upgrade, and the department's looking to upgrade the desktop computer technology in the department. They have a lot of outdated computers, and that the officers use of this would just upgrade it, make them a lot more, efficient. And it just comes through, and it's a kind of a split grant. You get half of it up front, and then you get the next half later on. So I mean, it's guaranteed we're going to get the money, but it comes through in 2 installments. Correct, Anna?
Yes.
Okay, it does. So that's all we're doing, is looking for you to get to approve that. This will, would be part of the town meeting, but it's a pass-through. It doesn't require any, no cost to the town.
Do we have a policy in town in regard to the flow of information in regard to different departments applying for grants? Is there any like centralized or are different departments out there applying? I'm just thinking about
For this, well, this grant is
just
specific.
any grant in general, so if any other department.
We could compile one, but I don't know, I don't have one right now that lets us know all the grant requests out there.
I'm just thinking in terms of the flow of information and, in terms of budgeting and.
We'd be
if-
glad
if
to
it-
hire someone to track that if you want to appropriate the funds for it. That would be
Yeah.
that's the most,
Yeah.
we are looking at bringing a firm to help us with
Yeah.
being able to apply for grants because, there's just so many out there, and this company will provide a resource to, basically to help identify what's available and bring it to your attention
Yeah.
and so forth like that. So that's what we're looking at trying to
Yeah.
do now because, resources is a huge problem in
Yeah.
doing that.
I was thinking just, CC, the finance department or something when someone's applying for a grant, so we know something.
I think we know when it's done, but as far as, we don't always get the outcomes right off the bat or stuff like that too, so. And here again, like I said, the resources to add another responsibility to
Yeah.
a department to track is difficult.
That would be on the town side. Do you have any idea the grants that the Board of Ed applies for?
No. And that's separate too. That would have to be, you'd have to ask Jeff or, Mariana what their status is for grant requests. They have a lot of grants coming through on a regular basis, yearly basis. I know that.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Ready? So move to approve an appropriation in the amount of $25,000 to CNRE Fund 32 and establish an account titled, quote, JAG Grant Projects, unquote, authorized purchase from Star Computers. Note, a town meeting is required.
Second. That's okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The motion carries 400. Okay. Next is a special appropriation of $70,000 CNRE Niantic Bay Boardwalk repairs.
Bill will be here to address this, but we did receive some FEMA reimbursements a few years ago for for Storm Sandy, and it's been in an account. And this is one of the items we identified. Bill Scheer has gone out and done some research on that, and he's come up with what's involved in that too, and it does a really good explanation. I'll let Bill do this. Is the type of cement we have and why this is a very good expenditure of some of the money from the Hurricane Sandy FEMA award.
Good evening. How you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Bill Scheer, Deputy Director of Public Works, also town resident. When the boardwalk, the new boardwalk was done, we wanted to make an extremely long-lasting piece of infrastructure for the town. So we used a very specialized, dense concrete. The reason it's dense is to try to keep the chlorides from the salt from getting inside the concrete, because salt is the natural enemy of concrete. But when you make a concrete very dense, it makes it weaker. So you have a trade-off, and what happens is that a very dense concrete like this has the potential to crack. If you've driven the boardwalk, you've probably seen the slight cracks on there. They're very small cracks. They're hairline cracks. They're, for the most part, cosmetic, but they still allow a point for salt water to get into the boardwalk, so we want to seal those up and make sure that the salt water can't get in them. Now, there are excellent products to do that, but they're epoxies and they're yellow and they really don't look nice. You can seal it all up. There's nothing that looks nice until recently that would work for this application. So we've come up with it. There's a new product on the market that's an aliphatic polyurethane. It's actually clear, and we plan on, it acts almost exactly the same as an epoxy. It's a very viscous substance. You put it on the crack, it soaks right down into the crack. At the top, you make it a little bit wider, and then you put this compound in there. It fills all the way to the top, and you top coat it with either a silica sand or some form of coloring to make it look just like the concrete. So by the time you're done, hopefully you barely see the crack at all. It's sealed all the way down, all the way up to the top, and the problem is mitigated for hopefully the rest of the boardwalk's life. So it's,
So it's a one-time, it's not like.
this is a one-time,
Okay.
one of the options that you have, we actually talked to we've done a lot of research on this. One of the options they have is you can spray it every couple of years and the stuff soaks into the crack and seals the crack, but it is a reoccurring fix. We don't want that. We prefer one-time, one expense fixes. This is a one-time, one expense fix. So,
So you're fixing the cracks that exist now, and then cracks could appear somewhere else. Is that correct?
they should not appear, these cracks all formed within a month. And so, we sort of anticipated a little cracking, but we do not anticipate any more cracking.
So what I'm saying is 5 years from now, could there be different cracks in the different places? No?
They're actually shrinkage cracks. So it's
Okay.
actually, the cracks are formed as the concrete cures.
Okay.
And the majority of the curing is in the first 30 days. So it's not from age, or it's actually from the curing process. So these started and happened right at the beginning.
Okay.
Another-
Yes.
We're talking about the section of boardwalk that was rebuilt, not talking about the part closer to Amtrak.
The portion that Amtrak does also has some cracks in it. Slightly different version of cracks. They have cracks there. We anticipate we're going to fix those too
With this?
with this stuff.
Okay, so both,
We're going to fix the whole boardwalk.
the whole boardwalk?
They have
Same
different
technology,
products, different mechanism, but we're going to use the exact same stuff on their cracks too.
Okay.
There are cracks now.
They can't be their cracks.
Amtrak built it, but the maintenance now is
Yeah, yeah. There are cracks.
So no,
Does the company provide any sort of guarantees or anything?
well, we went into this knowing we had a little bit of risk, and as soon as we saw the cracks, we brought the engineers back. We all looked at it. We talked about it. That's where we get into you have the option of sealing it every 2 years.
No, this new product, the new product that you're using, does the company that makes that provide any guarantees?
Just from what I've read, it's a permanent product. New, they're coming out with new stuff all the time. So it's the first time they've come up with a clear product that works in this fashion. It's revolutionary. It's actually very interesting science going through this stuff. Any other questions?
That's my, that's mine. Move to approve a special appropriation and transfer in the amount of $70,000 from CNRE Fund 32, account number 32-70-300-500-999, townwide projects, and establish an account titled NBB Concrete Repairs, more specifically for the structural and cosmetic repair of the concrete cracks on the Niantic Bay Boardwalk. This requires a town meeting.
Second?
I'll second. I'm into the boardwalk.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries 4-0-0. Thank you.
No one asked, but Bill does not anticipate, that you won't have to shut the boardwalk down to do this type of thing. Won't require it being closed or anything like that, just
Yep.
so.
We anticipate just a pattern where half of it's 50 feet of half of it, and people can walk around it. And
Sort of one-lane road ahead or something like that.
I just
Yeah.
assumed you'd shut it on 4th of July weekend or something like that.
we thought of that first, but
Thank you, and
I'm next also.
I was going to say, I believe you're next too. So this is in regard, our next item, D, special appropriation, $15,200, public safety building, masonry repair.
So the public safety building, as it's getting close to completion, Joe Bergara, who you're going to be talking to next, also does building maintenance. So we started going over there and reviewing, cleaning up the site, preparing to take over the building. And as part of that, we obviously look forward to everything that we're going to run into in the next many, many years. And the building is made out of split-face block. It's a very attractive product invented in the 80s. When they invented it, they didn't realize that it has some permeability issues. By that, I mean that water hits it and soaks into it a little bit more than they anticipated. It's been known since the 80s. A lot of things are done with it. And so when the roof was initially slated to be replaced, there was some water intrusion issues. And everything, the roof replacement was thought to fix most of those water intrusion issues, but we always thought there might be some permeability issues on the side as opposed to the top also. So now that the roof is done, it fixed almost all of them, but there still is some slight water intrusion issues because of the permeability of the block. So normally a block building like this would be sealed every 10 years anyway. It's just normal process, but they've come up with many more better chemicals that they can use to seal buildings that get you a much more a longer lifespan. They're not saying permanent yet, but they're getting very, very close. I don't think they want to say permanent yet. The chemicals actually go into the block and chemically change inside the block and bond to the block molecules. Another fascinating adventure here. So as part of that, to make this project complete, we want to make sure the building does not have any water intrusion issues for a very long time. And because this is a very specialized project, we put out an RFP to 4 architects that specialize in this. And we received 2 RFPs back. One of them was Silver Petroselli, and we liked their proposal the best. They're the ones that actually did the design. And so what I would like to do is appropriate $15,200 for them to finalize a plan to, prior to sealing a building, if there's any minor defects like little cracks or spalling or anything that's wrong with the building, you want to fix those. But when you bring a contractor in, you have to tell them specifically what to do. And somebody needs to watch them to make sure they specifically fix it correctly. So they will provide a plan and specifications to fix any minor defects, specify a product to seal the building and how to apply the product, temperatures, et cetera, give us those plans and specifications in a format where we could bid the project out to everybody. And then we have a number from them that would come later, is for $5,600 to oversee and facilitate actually doing the project, and we would also have to come back for more money to complete the project. So this money here is actually just to come up with plans and specifications and an actual design and a cost estimate to do the project for $15,200. I know that's a little complicated.
So at this point, we don't know what.
We don't know what the actual fix is. It's complicated. I mean, there's small contingencies in this $15,000 to do microscopic analysis of the building, to do permeability tests. It's a complicated, specialized field of study to figure out what to do in this case.
When Bill brought this to my attention, this is what he said. I'm confident Bill knows exactly what needs to be done, but as he specified, I'm not an expert in the field. What we want to be sure is this is done, and it's done right, so that this doesn't happen. If you looked at our vision study, or the first study we got from Silver Petroselli back when the builders and Ann Santoro located this, they did identify sealing the building, but their estimate was it would be several years down the road. And then they also talked about caulking and sealing. That part was around windows, that was done. But this is the split face that Bill talked about. I've heard some other examples of places that have been done as well. So the feeling is we need to have someone who knows exactly what needs to be done and the proper way to fix it. And and if the questions about funding that Anna can address, but we want to make sure this is done right.
This is more than a 10-year thing, but not quite permanent?
That's where we're going with it. That's
so not every 10 years.
The current technology is extremely good. I don't know if they know how long it's going to last yet.
Right, but it's not a 10-year.
It's not a 10-year product. It's longer, but
we don't know.
It's like pressure-treated lumber. Yeah, it lasts for a lifetime, but
nobody's lived long enough to see the end of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're going to do that.
So Silver Petroselli, they're the architect that was involved during the renovation.
Yes, correct.
So they identified building envelope as an issue, but they said it was going to last longer. That's similar to what they said with the roof too, that was going to last longer too. And
the roof was given. I'd really hate to rehash all that, but,
yeah, but I was saying
their initial assessment, then they came back and said there'd be a little more life in it.
Building envelope specialist, and they were hiring to do the building envelope, and they didn't seem to catch it the first time around. I know it's got to get done, but it just seems it's something that should have been addressed during the renovation.
it came to our attention as we were evaluating it to take it over. So that's, I wasn't involved in the beginning.
Yeah. No, I just have a construction background, and building envelope is always the first thing we look at whenever we're taking over a building. But
They were very important.
Does anyone have any more comments or questions?
this is me too.
Yep.
Okay, move to approve a special appropriation amount of $15,200 for the evaluation of the permeability of the exterior of the new public safety building, provide solution options, cost estimate, and the production of construction plans and specifications to an account to be established in the Project Fund 57 titled PS Building Masonry Repair. Source of funding to be from bond and note sale premium funds. Note this requires a town meeting.
Second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. No abstention. Motion carries 400.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Next, we have a special appropriation of $23,000 CNRE trash truck engine repair, and I believe we have Joe
Hi.
Bergaud here to.
Yeah, Joe
address
Bergaud,
this.
Public Works Director, also a town resident. Starting on a positive note, the Public Works Department appreciates that the town funded through American Rescue Fund to get a brand new garbage truck, and we were being told that it was going to cost $340,000 and take a year. We found one that was sitting on a lot somewhere that was supposed to go to another town. The town meeting was on a Wednesday. Thursday we ordered it. It was in the lot on Monday, and it was $47,000 less than we thought. So that was good. But it all tied together with garbage is such an important thing, and this is the backup truck. And backup trucks are very important because on double collection days, all the holidays, we double collect. And one of the problems that's been happening over the last few years is the garbage trucks are so busy we can never get them off the road. So you need good spare trucks. So this is about one of the spare trucks. So we have a good 2013 truck, a spare truck. It's in good, decent overall condition. However, the engine shot. It seems like an oxymoron to say it's in good condition, but the engine shot. But the whole truck and all the components and everything is in really good working order. It just we had an engine failure on it, and I'm getting the recommendation from the fleet manager that we really need to keep this truck, and they don't have the money in the operations budget to get a new engine. So they priced out an engine. I have the information on there. It is very particular to that truck, so from a purchasing policy, it's really a sole source to auto cars. You have to get the engine for that truck. There's only one dealer for that. If we can get the approval through the town meeting, because it exceeds the town meeting threshold, then we can get this thing all fixed, and then we will have a reliable backup truck, and the town will be in much, much better shape with our garbage trucks. I mean, we were down to had like 2 operating trucks only a few months ago, and now we have 4, and this is the 5th. So this is really important to keep the garbage collection and garbage and recycling collection going on a reliable basis. If you have any questions.
Is this a new engine?
Yes. Yes.
You have a total of 4 trucks, is that it?
Oh, there was 5 trucks. This is the 5th. This is the 5th truck.
Okay.
We typically have 3 on the road at all times and 2 backups. This is the 5th truck, the second backup truck, and it's just not running. So we actually have 4 running trucks right now.
So what's the life expectancy now with the new engine and?
Of this truck?
Yeah.
We should get another 5-6 years of it because the spare truck isn't used that often, and it's not on the road all the time. So, good 5-6 years is a reasonable estimate. It could be more. You just never know with those trucks. I mean, they take a lot of beating, and people always forget. They see the truck driving around town. That truck is also driving up to Preston to dump. That's where we go, where the smokestack is up going 395. So they do get a lot of use. So the more we can rotate these vehicles around, this truck should last a good another 5-6 years. Not as a frontline truck, though.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other questions for Joe? Motion.
Move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $23,000 from CNRE account 32-30-400-700-999 PWD. Reserve to replace the existing engine in one of the town garbage truck, parentheses 76 EL, parentheses, note, this requires a town meeting.
Second.
Further discussion? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. No abstentions. Motion carries 400. Thank you. So now we are on to item F, a special appropriation of $30,489 CNRE, Public Works Department, Storm Isaias. Is this Mr. Sherry going to address?
Yeah, and,
Or Anna?
I just want to add, when the motion is read, I noticed that the dollar amount is not written in the motion, so if that could be added, which after the word "in," for the amount of $30,489.35. So back in August of 2020, we were the victims of Storm Isaias. There was a presidential disaster declared, and so we submitted our expenditures for the debris removal throughout the town, and this is receiving the 75% reimbursement. And so it's typical when we receive FEMA reimbursements that we appropriate them into the CNRE fund so that we can use them, use that, funding to, purchase equipment, for the department that originally expended the funds from. So like this evening, the appropriation that you just approved, that was the resource, that was Public Works Reserve funds that we use. And so essentially we're adding to that account, balance again, so that in the future, if we had to, make such a repair or even purchase a small piece of equipment, we would have the resources available. So, for example, the balance in that account was $51,612. We just appropriated 23 out of it, and we're going to add 30 to it. So then the balance will be up a little over 69,000.
Got it. Want to have any more questions for Anna? All right.
Okay. So move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $30,489 in CNRE Fund 32 to account 32-300-400-700-999, titled PWD Reserve for Future Allocation for Public Works Department Equipment. This requires a town meeting.
Second.
Just a point, do we need to add the 35 cents to the end of that, just for,
I didn't, okay, I was being consistent with the others, but there's, okay.
just asking. I think we're probably fine if not. All right,
Want me to reread it with the 35 cents in it?
that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. No abstentions. The motion carries 400. Okay, on to item G, special appropriation, $15,000 affordable housing consultant grant. Looks like Mr. Siri is ready to.
Just want to make sure it's on. As you can see in the summary, this goes back to August of last year. The first selectman signed to deliver a funding application, and we subsequently have received a $15,000 grant. This basically is just going to help us to approve a special appropriation in the amount of the grant, $15,000, so that they can, obtain the consulting services and technical services of the firm that's Gorman and York of East Hartford to basically give us input for the update on the affordable housing plan. Board of Zoning Board Commission and Planning Commission do have the affordable committee on the affordable housing plan, so they're working on this, and they're the ones that selected the vendor.
Okay, move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $15,000 in CNRE Fund 32 to an account to be established titled Affordable Housing Planning Grant for the grant awarded by the State Department of Housing for professional consulting and technical services to update the plan of affordable housing. Note this requires a town meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? No. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. The motion carries 400. Next, item H, the special appropriation of $70,284 CNRE Senior Center COA Van 5310 grant. So, we have a memo here from Kathy Wilson, the Senior Center Director. I don't know whether either of you are...
Actually, Ms. Wilson has applied on several occasions for grants under this 5310 program, and we've been awarded them. And again, we have another grant. We will be taking delivery either late at the end of this year or early next year for the bus, and we need to appropriate the expenditure so that we can pay for it. And typically what happens with this particular grant is it happens all simultaneous. Like the state sends us the funding, we issue the check and take delivery. It's pretty well coordinated, but we do, the way the grant is written, we do need to pay for it on delivery. So we're just appropriating the funds to make sure that this all falls into place for us when the funds are needed.
Okay, great.
Okay. Move to appropriate $70,284 in CNRE Fund 32 for the purchase of a new 16-passenger and 2-wheelchair bus to be utilized by the Senior Center. Delivery expected late 2022/early 2023 to account number 32-40-400-700-702 COA DOT 5310 bus. Note this requires a town meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? No. The motion carries 400. On to item I, a special appropriation of $12,410 CNRE surcharge, SB 1037.
This is a fun one. This is establishing
Do you have
a
samples?
Yeah, the
capital non-recurring fund
I am
for the
curious.
for the little nip bottles that are so popular. Obviously too. One of the problems the state has noticed is the fact that people just dispose of them very quickly out windows and that. If you're probably walking down any street, Main Street, even the side streets, you're going to see some on the curbs. So now there's a 5-cent surcharge on each of the little nip bottles. This isn't where the person can go back and turn it back in for their 5 cents. It's a 5-cent surcharge, and then every 6 months the town will get, and it's based on through the distributors. It's not as per liquor store. It depends upon the distributors who are dealing in East Lyme and so forth. They have to report the number of sales, and the state bases their check to the East Lyme based on what is reported by the distributors. So for the period October to April of this year, we they determined about 248,436 nip bottles were sold in the town of East Lyme. So our revenue from that is $12,421.08. They're very specific in how this money can be used too. It basically has to be used to something that deals with waste management, Main Street organization is, we mentioned compost restrooms. They're looking at possibly a couple compost trash containers. They're fairly expensive, but they want to start looking at that, because if you've seen our garbage cans on a weekend, they're just overfull and so forth, so they want to combat that. We can let the fund build up over time as well, which is why we want to establish a CNRE account, so you can buy sweepers with this. It also indicates you could hire a recycling coordinator for the town. We're not going to do that. But I think we have some, with Public Works, Parks and Rec, and the Main Street organization, we have some good, they're developing some ideas how to utilize that. But the plan right now is to establish a CNRE account, so we'll have some place to put it and then access to it when needed. So it's, Oh, and, I've seen people go, they'll buy the 8-pack of little nips. They come some 8-pack, so
Sleeves of 10.
Pardon?
There are 10 in the sleeve.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. And and I would think October to April would probably be the quieter time of the year for money for that. So it'll be interesting to see what we get in October for the April to October timeframe.
It sounds like there's some flexibility in how to spend the money.
It's pretty much solid waste management. So
my preference would be that it's closer to picking up the nips off the street than something further away from that task. I know that it's hard to make a direct correlation, but I would like to see the money spent closer to that.
Well, that's why they even talked about sweepers, that things like that to help pick it up too. So
because it is a problem.
It is. I mean, it's not, for the state to enact this, is obviously they recognize that problem as well. So.
And from what I was reading, you can actually purchase some kind of a drop to put in the storm drains, so that the bottles don't go into the down in there. It kind of catches them. That was one of the things on the list as well.
Yeah, I thought they were recyclable, but they're not.
No, well, they probably are recyclable, but there's no.
They said they can't store them.
You
can't return them for the nickel.
You can't return for a nickel or anything
paper,
like that.
the day did an article on it, and they said, I guess at the recycling facility, they can't sort those. They're too small.
They're too small. Okay. Yes, I did see
That's
that.
why they end up going out the window.
Yeah.
So do we know where East Lyme stands per capita with this 248,000 bottles?
I would have no idea. I mean, they didn't do it per capita. I don't think
Somebody will print it eventually.
Somebody, I'm sure. It probably wouldn't be hard to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
There were some pretty large checks on the list.
yeah.
I mean, I was overwhelmed with the amount that we sold in this town.
Mhm.
Who would thought think?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Any further
Motion.
questions? No?
Move to establish corresponding revenue and expenditure accounts in CNRE Fund 32 for the purpose of setting aside funds collected for the 5-cent surcharge on the 50 ml nip liquor bottles in accordance with SB 1037. An act concerning solid waste management account to be titled Surcharge-SB 1037.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 400. And on to item J, ratify department transfers in the amount of $526,210.
And 50 cents.
Hmm?
And 50 cents.
And 50 cents,
I'll
okay.
remember that.
It's getting towards the end of the fiscal year, so looking at making some of the interdepartmental transfers we always do, and I'll let Anna take it because she's the one that prepared this and address any concerns.
So this is really making transfers within the department by budget, and so we do need to report the ones that we do to the boards, but we're making these as we go along. We're not coming to the board prior to making any of these transfers. So that's why it's listed as ratify. So in June of last year, we had a refunding bond sale. So as a result of the refunding bond sale, it kind of redistributed some of our debt payments. So we had more than we needed in some accounts and less in others. So, we had, the transfers were close to $220,000 just for that purpose. And we talked earlier about the legal fees. We've actually transferred close to $55,000 into the legal accounts up to this point. Public Works had about $134,000 in transfers, and building maintenance a little over $20,000. And then we had come to the boards earlier in the year for a transfer from contingency for week 53 of payroll, and we had about $14,000 that we were able to do within the departments. And then the other another transfer, we did $12,000 from the regular dispatch overtime account into their part-time account. And then there's several others that are smaller in nature, but that kind of summarizes where the larger amounts were transferred from. If anyone has questions, I can certainly answer them for you.
So these are all transfers just within a department, but
Correct.
into different
Right, yeah.
accounts. Anyone have any other questions, comments? No? All right.
Move to ratify departmental transfers in the amount of $526,210.50, processed for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
I'll second.
Further discussion? No? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries 400. Next, I would like to set a meeting for the finance, Board of Finance here to set the mill rate. We don't have that on the schedule yet. So I would like to make a motion that we set this meeting for May 24th at 5:30.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'll say
Fine.
aye.
And just for the record, I checked with Richard and Lauren, and that worked for both of them as well, so we should be good. I don't see any old business. Public discussion, I don't see any public. Anybody on the board want to say anything? Any comments, suggestions? No? Then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. The motion carries. Thank you.